Welcome to another edition of the Underrated Hero Cast. I'm your host, Deshaw, also known as the Lost Tapes, the Underrated Hero, whatever you guys want to call me. And I got a special guest. This is our first time formally meeting, so I'm very excited. This is my boy, the Lostboy, man. How you doing?
I'm all right, bro. I appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for actually offering to come on, man. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on, so I'm just glad you took the time out of your schedule to do this with me. So,
Of
we're
course,
gonna go
bro.
ahead and get to it,
Anytime.
man. So I want you to briefly explain how it is growing up in Florida, man, the Sunshine State.
Um, I mean, Florida's pretty different, bro. I would consider it like the melting pot of everything. You have a little bit of everything. Um, Growing up here was a lot of skateboarding, a lot of graffiti, a lot of what I would just call street culture overall. You know what I mean? I spent most of my time like out in the streets doing graffiti, being a skateboarder. Um, it's just very there's like a creative collective consciousness out here. Like everybody feeds off of one another for whether it be idea, whether it be skill, you know what I mean? So
Correct.
this is a big breeding ground for art and artists and creatives and people who just want to be outside, you know what I mean, of the fringe of things. So growing up in Florida was very much a gift and a curse, because with everything surrounding you, all culture, all forms of pop culture, you know what I mean, all forms of
Yeah.
lifestyle, you can get sent into 15 different paths. But
Mm,
I would say that anybody that's ever grown up here could tell you the same thing. Like they have an eclectic sense of fashion, style, pop culture, history. You know what I mean? So
correct.
I would just say growing up here was very eclectic, very different,
Yeah.
very fast paced. You know?
Correct. Because you see, I live in South Carolina, Greenville to be exact, and it's kind of like I had to grow up and we had to establish a culture. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
we're basically still doing that. Like everything that we see in Georgia, Florida, California, New York. You don't see that down here, and it's kind of like we're elevating towards that because Greenville is like the fastest growing city, fast paced in America, and so
Hmm.
you're seeing basically different cultures coming down here. But growing up, man, you only seen South Carolinians, and now you're seeing people from all across the U.S., which is crazy. So it's like I'm having to grow up establishing a certain culture. So
Absolutely.
you would say the culture was already there.
Yeah, the culture, at least in the sense of fashion and things like that. The culture's been here since I'd say like the late 80s.
Hmm.
So there's been an infrastructure for fashion. We have had like certain people come up and become something, you know what I mean, in the market of fashion. And we've had, pro skateboarders, pro athletes. There's just the list goes on for people from Florida. So I would say I live in a state where it's already highly, there's already high representation of things, but there's nobody like me doing what I do. You know what I mean? In all of the
Right.
state, which is still very, very, that means we're still very far behind in some sense, the level of
Mm,
creators we have, like they're good and stuff, but we don't have anybody that's doing everything bespoke, everything on their own completely. So I would say that it's been around for a long time, but it's needed its change as well.
correct. And I know you had talked about I had read that you didn't even graduate high school. And
Yeah.
of course, in today's age, they try to bestow that upon us like, oh no, like if you don't do anything else, you graduate high school. So I want to know, was it your decision or was it some circumstances that were at hand?
Um, for me, like, there's the old saying, like, sometimes just people aren't good for school, A, B, and C.
Right.
For me, I mean, when I was a kid, I was really focused on skateboarding and style. I was focused on the wrong stuff. And after a certain point in school, I got, I wasn't attending, things like that. I was living my life, and I feel like it's like a trade up. You either get your education and you focus on that, or you learn things, you know what I mean? Like you learn street knowledge and you learn how to be street smart and you learn how to conduct life that way. And like
Correct.
I was irresponsible and I chose that path. So it kind of, it bit me in the butt later on in life because I'm not as prepared as the next guy, but in a sense of like the things that I've seen, you know what I mean, just by being
Mm,
outside and how I've been able to like infuse that into the clothes I make and stuff. it's all lived experience. So for me, I could learn, I know math and I know all these things that I could have learned in high school now, but in the same note, like I wouldn't be as educated as I am and I wouldn't have as much worldview. My worldview would be different and the knowledge that I have would be completely altered because I wouldn't
Mhm.
have been outside living, you know?
Correct. So no regrets on that whatsoever, correct?
None at all. I mean,
Okay, that's
if
good.
there's
That's good.
anything that I regret, it would be maybe that I didn't try to pursue fashion school, sooner or
Mhm.
something like that. But at the same time, like I don't come from any sort of privileged family. So I feel like even if I did say, hey, mom and dad, I want to
Mhm.
go to fashion school, it wouldn't have been in my cards anyways.
Correct. You see, I'm glad you said that because I mean, that's how I am. I mean, I did go to high school, I did graduate college, about to get my bachelor's, but I feel like that path is not for everyone.
Yeah.
You found a creative path,
Hmm.
which is a path that people don't talk about. You figured out life on your own, which I feel like that's even harder because you were
Absolutely.
able to figure that out on your own rather than just having people teach you. You had to do that on your own. So I really applaud you for that, bro, and stepping out outside of your comfort zone and doing something that was outside of the norm. So
Thank you,
I
bro. I
really
appreciate
appreciate
that. Of
you explaining that, man. And then
course.
so through that specific journey, what would you say were some of the challenges going through that? Because I know it was a journey for you, man.
Um, as in like fashion or
So like you actually decide, okay, like I'm gonna drop out. Like what age were
Oh,
you?
I didn't get a choice. It wasn't really
Okay.
a choice for me. So my best friend Josh, he he took his own life when I was
Oh man,
16,
sorry to hear that.
17. And partly like the blame was kind of put on me, you know what I mean? And that's in that sense like of him passing and stuff and it was really like rough on me. So I think at the time I was already, far behind in like credits and things like that. And I had went to start seeing a counselor, you know what I mean, because I
Mhm.
lost my friend and stuff. And the counselor had basically told me, at this point, you should just, go live and be an adult. Like being here isn't going to do anything good for you. I think being at school
Mm.
constantly reminded me of my friend Josh, because
Oh
that's
wow.
the only thing. That's kind of the only reason why I went to school is to be with my friend and stuff. So
Mm.
with him gone, I went into an adult like GED program, and I went to
Mm.
do the GED, and I couldn't even make it through that just because like my friend Josh, he was the student assistant in the adult education office. So like if I had to go there, I would have to see like all traces of him all around all the time. So I
Correct.
kind of lost my mind and told my parents like, look, either you pull me out of school or like, you know what I mean? I just don't go and we have issues with that. So my parents like did the right thing for me in that time and took me out of school. I instantly went from there and just started working like a normal person.
Right.
So
Yeah, man. Sorry to hear that. By the way, man.
no worries, man. That was when I
Sure.
was
Understandable.
that was over 10 years ago now. So things happen and you
Yeah.
can't really control it. All I can do is everything that I do now in some way, shape, or form is for his spirit. You know what I mean?
No doubt, man. No doubt. And that leads me to my next question. So, I know you did talk about as well. You were not even interested in fashion.
No.
So, how did that even come about?
So again, I think a lot of things for people happen when something happens in life, a transition, the end of something, the beginning of something. There's always something that leads to us doing the things that we do. For
Hmm.
me, it was losing something important,
Right.
losing an aspect of my life. I started making music. The origin of Lostboy is really in music. Like I started
Oh,
making music with my
okay.
friends and I kind of got a we have a studio around here where most of the bigger artists go to, and I just started going there willy nilly. And I guess they recognized the talent I had for music and stuff, so they would bring me into the studio for just free of charge sessions. So I would go to the studio every single day and spend anywhere from 3 to 6 hours at the studio, just making manufacturing as many songs as I can. And I think in the span of 6 months, I had put out 2 albums, like a bunch of singles, and then I got offered to do a show. And when I was offered to do the show, I thought to myself, well, everybody looks the same. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
everybody has the same aesthetic. They just wear like a Miri jeans or you know what I mean? So
Right, right,
I'm thinking like how can I separate myself from that and just genuinely be better, you know? And if it's not by
right.
my music, it's like by my style because when it comes down to marketing and stuff, there's really two things you need. You need to have the visual and you need to have the aesthetic, you know what I mean, and the
Correct.
marketing.
That is true.
So I'm sitting there, my girlfriend says, "Hey, like let's go to the thrift store." You know, that's something that we do for ourselves, you know, just in casual. So we go to the thrift store and I see a $40 Singer sewing machine on the ground. And I have no idea what to do with it. Now keep in mind, you know, I don't sew, I'm not a sewer, you know, in my life. Like I didn't pick up a sewing machine until I was 26 years old.
Hmm.
So, and that was then, you know, we grabbed the sewing machine. My girlfriend said, "Oh, well, you can take this and you could do a bunch of stuff with that. Like you never know." And I think it was her saying that you never know that really it was like, okay, bro, bet, you know, I'm gonna
Hmm.
give this a shot. So we took it, brought it home, I didn't mess with it for maybe 3 weeks because I was just scared of it, you know,
Hmm.
and picked it up, started cutting up some anime shirts I had in the house and sewing them back onto another shirt, you know, kind of like making collages and stuff. So that's kind of the origin of Lost Boy is me being like, wow, I could look better than all of these guys and not spend any money. You know, I could go to the thrift
Hmm.
store and I could take like these thrifted clothes and I could turn them into straight up one of one things, you know, that will be desirable. And it was really fast for me, you know, within a couple of weeks of me, you know, making some of the first pieces I made, I already had most of the artists, you know, around me locally wanting to either purchase or wear in music videos, et cetera, et cetera. Just the climb of Lost Boy is like the story is really, really, you know, it's honestly interesting just because
Right.
most people's paths don't dip into so many places, you know, but
Correct.
in my first 6 months, I went from not knowing how to do anything at all to like being invited to work in a whole studio with other creators and like help them with their brands. And keep in mind, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. I'm only 6 months in, you know.
Hmm.
At that point, the brand wasn't even called Lost Boy, so it was called Gaijin, which means outsider in
Hmm.
Japanese. So
Got
you
you.
know what I mean? I came into Lost Boy now. Fun fact, like my fingers, you can't really read them well, but they say live lost. And I got that 10 years ago. So it was like a
Mm.
manifestation thing, you know? I was sitting
Right.
there thinking to myself, like, whatever name I have now, like, isn't me. So what is me? And then a buddy of mine was like, "You're Lost Boy. Like, you've always been that way. Like, you're a lost soul. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going, but you're here, you know?"
Wow.
And I was he kind of said, you know, you represent all the underdogs. So once I heard that, I was like, okay, bet I'm Lost Boy. Like that's Lost Boy is not a brand name. Like that's who I am in my soul, you know? So
Correct.
I feel like at the end of the day, the representation is a little bit different. Like I don't acknowledge what I do as like a brand. Like when you talk to
Right.
Lost Boy, you're talking to a human being. Like I
Human
am
being.
the entity. You know what I mean? So Lost
Right.
Boy is basically an entity. It's not a brand. It's not one singular thing. It is one singular person, you know, but the
Right.
idea is not singular in any way.
I like that. I like that. The envisionment of really finding yourself and creating, separating yourself. Because I don't think people realize how we have to separate ourselves from ourselves, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Because it's
It's
like,
a journey of discovery. Exactly. It's like a
correct.
path of self-discovery that
Hmm.
imagine, you know, an overgrown field or an overgrown trail and I'm just plowing down everything that's overgrown along the way, you know?
Right.
But it's not like that path has been cleared for me, you know?
Hmm. Right. And so I want you to explain what were some of the challenges with, since you didn't really know exactly what you were doing. What were the challenges of starting out when it came to sewing and making the clothes?
Um
And how long
the
did it take you to
biggest
figure it
the biggest challenge was getting over the fear, you know, like getting over the fear of using a sewing machine because that in itself is like very terrifying.
out?
Um Another big challenge I would say is genuinely coming up with the design language. Like like logos and stuff, that's one thing, you know what I mean? But actually coming up with an aesthetic that people follow, that they can follow and pinpoint and kind of create an identity off of. The hardest part was creating that identity, you know,
Mm-hmm.
creating something that people can come back to and kind of like use, not in an iconic sense, but you know, that's what it is. Everything is an icon.
Mm-hmm.
So becoming recognizable, um, selling things was really not that hard, you know.
Right.
I just think that if you make genuine art, like it doesn't matter how much marketing you have or how much you put into it in that aspect, like people will come and people will buy. You just have to be out there to, you know, for them to see it.
Right.
So the difficulties were obviously, you know, not really knowing how to sew. I got
Mm-hmm.
kind of lucky because my great grandmother and my grandmother are both seamstresses, and they both have been sewing, you know, for 50 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I got small tips, like very small, crucial tips though, you know, and
Right.
everything else I taught myself along the way. But it also took years. It takes time. You know, like I said,
Yeah.
without fashion school, you will be set a little bit farther back, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean you can't do the same things. In fact,
Right.
I would say, in all honesty, because I haven't been, the best way I could put it is, since my brain hasn't been tainted by like the rules, you know what I mean, of
Mm-hmm.
fashion, I don't I don't leave anything off the table. It's all there, you know, to be able to work on. So really just resource, like not having enough money all the time to be able to, you know, to make stuff.
Right.
Um, you know, having fear of a machine and having respect for the machine. I would say that that's, you know, the most crucial thing is learning your machine, being comfortable with it, but also respecting it and knowing, you know what I mean? Like this machine will tear you up really, really fast if you don't pay attention. And
Right.
it'll ruin your pieces very, very fast
Mm-hmm.
if you're not paying attention. So just detail, you know? I think
Mm-hmm.
the difficulty was finding details, finding the identity of the brand, finding the customer base was kind of easy, but just finding the people to come back, if that makes sense, you
There
know?
you go. There
Finding
you
the
go.
people to come back and figuring out how to make a product that's worth paying for and worth coming back for,
Oh
you
yes,
know?
most definitely. Because when I got everyone knows the piece that I got from you, the red vest. Man, that will go down in the ages as one of my favorite shoots that I did. With me and my
Absolutely,
boy
bro.
collab on that red vest. I don't know. I think I remember I was just on the Lowheads website, and I think I had found you before or after that.
Hmm.
Because the Lowheads website, it's crazy how that works because that's a whole nother conversation in itself on how it
Hmm.
brings light to other fashion artists. Because it even has people on there that I know down here,
Yeah.
and I'm able to connect with other people as well. And so I seen that vest and I don't know what it was about it, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna put this to the side because I think it took me like a good 6 months to a year to actually wear it because I was just so like I'm not wearing it until the perfect moment.
Yeah, you know that when you get it in your hands, it's something
Yeah,
special.
yeah,
I try to put like clothes are clothes. Like we all know that.
right,
You know, at the end of the day, like you go to the mall, you buy clothes, you wear them a couple times, and you donate them or whatever it is. My whole goal is whether it's like an upcycled piece, whether it's, you know, I make it from scratch, just raw fabric, whatever it is. The whole goal is to make sure that when you get that item, like it triggers an emotion. It's not
there you go.
just, you know what I mean? It's not just, wow, like I got the piece I paid for. There's like this weird inclination that people get to say something, you know, like they'll get
Hmm.
their piece and then they'll send me, you know, it might be a paragraph, it might be a whole wall of message, whatever it is, but
Hmm.
they explain every time like the energy they get when that package comes to them and they open it, you know, whatever lies
Hmm.
beyond it. And I'm really big on being as authentic as I can while also, you know, trying to be misleading for the right reasons. So what I mean
Right,
by that is all fashion content creators and brands or whatever, they give you the most highly detailed images of everything you could ever imagine. You know, you can
right.
see the textures of the fabrics. I use a more simple technique where the pictures you get are the pictures you get
Hmm.
because I want you to get that in real life. Like it's
Hmm.
kind of like a word of mouth thing. Like if you know, you know. Not
Right.
everybody's meant to know either. So once you get a package from me and it comes in and you feel everything in real life and you feel the weight of it and you see the construction of it, that's where things become impressive, you know? I don't try to impress anybody on a screen. I try to impress you in real life, you
There you
know?
go.
That's the difference.
Ooh, and that's like a marketing tactic in a sense because I feel like most people try to over exaggerate yourself through the media rather than trying to impress your customers in real life. And so it's like you taking a
Absolutely.
more underlying approach, like you were saying, go back to what you were saying. I'm being misleading in a way that's going to benefit the customer.
Benefit you, not me.
There you
Yep,
go. There you
absolutely.
go.
And at
So
the end of the day,
that's
I
game.
think, I think that fashion is, excuse my language, but fashion is bullshit, bro. Fashion
Right.
is a lot of being fed trash, straight up
There you go.
garbage. And in a world that's full of drop shit brands and, literally an ocean of just random like graphic designers that you can pull up and buy your whole brand aesthetic, for $100 now. You don't even got to put any work in. So, like, when I see stuff like that, I think to myself, there's so much disingenuine out there that the genuine
Hmm.
shines like 10 times brighter now.
There
So
you go.
the more genuine you are and just the more that you do things for yourself and not for what the internet thinks you want to see, the more you get recognized. It's the strangest thing,
Right.
because you can be really small on the internet but big in real life. And I
There
try
you
to
go.
explain that to people all the time. Many all I have most of my friends, most of my friends in general are like other brand owners who are successful, who are like doing big things, who do big drops. And they express to me all the time, like, what you're doing, what I'm doing is exactly what I need to be doing. The greats don't make it by paying for Instagram ads. Like Rick Owens didn't come up off of paying for Instagram. You know what I mean? Like it
Correct.
just doesn't work like that. Nothing happens that's
Overnight.
disingenuine. Nothing disingenuine lasts, you know?
There you go. There you go. I like that. And so let's talk about the newest collection that you have coming up, man. What can we be expecting from it?
Well, the thing is Lost Boy has been going on for 3 years now, and I told you a little bit of the origin of it and everything. I feel like right now I'm not at a stalemate with Lost Boy, but I'm taking more time on the designs. I'm
Hmm.
spending more money on you know what I mean, on the development of things. I've been spending a lot of time on like custom zippers, custom zipper heads, custom rivets, new fabrics and materials. A new collection from me, I would expect by the end of the year, and it's going to be 30 pieces. And
Okay.
then I'm starting a second brand, Hush Hush,
Uh-huh.
um, and that might take over Lost Boy. So Lost Boy
Mm.
might not exist for very long, because I might carry all the aesthetic over to this new endeavor. But I also have a partnership with somebody else. We're starting a brand called You Like Everything, and You Like Everything will be dropping. The first drop is shoes, so expect shoes.
Ooh. Okay.
And they're styled like Margielas kind of, but they're a skate shoe. So
Mm.
our first drop for You Like Everything is most likely going to be a skate shoe. Um, and just I don't know. I've been making one of one clothes for so long that the demand is there. Like the demand for people to, if I post one thing, 15 people might want that one thing. So
Hmm.
now I'm at the point where I can kind of look into manufacturing and have it be justified, but I'm not just going to go with any manufacturer. It has to be somebody in America. It has to be somebody who is at the same, who can, deliver the same skill sets that I can. I'm not really looking for a factory, of just general workers sewing. Like it has to be people with the same exact vision that I have.
Correct.
So it's hard, it's hard to figure out that next step, when you're in a weird, because I feel like all creators, we all have this like unspoken of like tier list. Where do you fall in that tier list? And like beginner creators obviously start at the bottom. They don't, they haven't figured out their aesthetic yet. They haven't established an LLC or whatever it is. And then as you climb up the pole, you go. I feel like I'm like one step above the top in skill
Hmm.
set, in skill
Right.
set, but not in marketing sense. You know what I mean? So it's weird to feel like, you're already there, you know, in the sense of like what you make and the quality of it, whatever, what you present, but also your marketing is like years behind. So I feel like taking all of this stuff that I've learned in 3 years of running, you know, a semi-professional business as a clothing designer, carrying that over into something new can only give me positive results, if that makes sense.
No,
So yeah,
okay. Yeah, because that was basically gonna lead me into my last question on the future plans. But I'm glad you explained that. Looks like you have some great stuff coming up. I can't wait to check it out. I'm a support. Um, been rocking with you for a minute, man. I'm gonna continue to do so. Once again, I really appreciate you hopping on.
of course, bro.
And
One last
you have,
thing though, too.
go
There's
ahead.
a how you got your jacket from the Lowheads thing. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're going to do that annually. In January, there's going to be another like Lost Boy auction.
Okay.
So that will be all those items will be exclusive to Lowheads. One last thing I forgot too is there will be a Lowheads exclusive drop on December 4th.
Ooh.
So look out for that. There's a Lowheads drop exclusives only on Lowheads. That'll
Okay.
be December 4th.
Bet. So that's in 2 weeks. So you
Yes,
guys be
sir.
on the lookout for that. Any advice, any last words, any last thoughts that you can give to
Of course,
anyone
bro.
who's starting a brand?
Of course. If you are a young adult or you're even like me, like you're 29 years old, you know, anybody can do this at any time. The best thing that I could say is the longer you wait, the further away you are.
Mm.
And, you know, when it comes down to our dreams and our goals or whatever, every little thing you do is has a purpose. Don't ever think that what you're doing has no purpose. If you're making clothes and nobody's buying them, you're just not putting them out there enough. If you're making clothes and you feel like, I'm not doing that great, like these aren't the best pieces, it doesn't matter. Put up everything, post everything. All your misses are your successes as well. I can't tell you how many times I had a piece that I made that I was like, yeah, no, I'm not selling this at all. Like, no one's buying
Mm.
this. And that was the first thing somebody went for. So never doubt yourself, never judge your own work. And when someone else judges your work, just accept it. You know, accept it for
Right.
what it is. Take it as constructive criticism, but never get mad because at the end of the day, what we do is subjective. Not everybody is going to like what you do, and not everybody's going to believe or support what you do, especially friends or family. So don't judge them either. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Just do what you do, live your life, live your truth, and remember, anti-fashion is the key. Don't ever look or subscribe into bullshit. Stop reading into bullshit. Do you, live you, be you, and things will come. Everyone will come for that. That's
Yes,
what's
sir.
real.
Couldn't said it any better, man. I really
Yes, sir.
appreciate you, man. This is Lost Boy. You guys go check out my boy's pieces. Follow him on Instagram. Get out. I'm gonna link it down below. If you
You already
guys,
know.
yes, that's my that. Wait, what's that? That's a sweatshirt. I like. Hold on.
Yeah, it's a crazy sweatshirt that some
Yeah,
new.
that's hard, bro. That's like a brown. That give me like a the Cleveland Browns type feeling.
It is, yeah. It's brown,
Yeah,
brown and red.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
I need that.
Hey, yes, sir.
But yeah, man, you guys go support my boy. Go check him out. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen his work, all you got to do is go look at that vest that I put on. It's on my Instagram, the red and black vest. Hey, man, that's all I need to say. Once
Yep,
again, I appreciate you, bro. Hey, stay on
of
the
course.
grind. Keep doing you, keep being you, man, and looking forward to
Mhm.
speaking with you in the future.
Of course, bro. And everybody remember, it's anti-fashion forever. We up.
Amen. This has been
All right,
Underrated
man.
Hero Cast. Y'all have a good one.